broadcast network, AFTERBUZZ TV. Over 20 million weekly downloads in over 150 countries, and your number one source for after-show entertainment. AFTERBUZZ TV, the destination for TV superfans, producing aftershows for over 300 of your favorite TV shows, interviewing celebrities and showrunners, and bringing you behind-the-scenes exclusives. All thanks to E! Entertainment's Maria Menounos, producer Kevin Undergaro, and internet leader Akamai. Now, let the buzz begin!
Clone Club, welcome back to another Orphan Black AFTERBUZZ recap show. This is Season 3, Episode 4, Newer Elements of Our Own Defense. Another Eisenhower reference. And with us, as always, Mr. Matt Lieberman.
Hello, 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 Clone Club.
And Megan Salinas.
Hi, everybody.
And maybe on a couple call-in, maybe not. I'm betting against it at this point.
She's definitely sick. What happens? Every week, we're so excited. She's going to be here. We're going to have the full panel, and then some disaster befalls her.
I think it's that I tweeted out. I think that jinxes it. So next week, I'm not going to tweet.
You need to
stay away from Twitter.
You quit Twitter now, sir.
I'm going to quit Twitter just to get Anna healthy. Not even for the benefit of the show, just so she can recover.
Please do.
Although, for those of you on Twitter right now, we'll be keeping an eye on the hashtag ABTV Orphan Black.
Yes.
Excellent. So, tweet in questions.
Yeah, you can find Will at the Real Will Link on Twitter.
That's absolutely right.
You can find me at Matt Lieberman on Twitter. You can find Megan at the Menguin on Twitter.
Yay!
Yeah.
Look at that.
I
Thanks
know
for the
your
Twitter
handles.
plugs.
Yeah.
So, let's start at the start. Mark is not dead.
Thank God.
Great.
As we
Thank
kind of
God.
predicted
Good
at
choice.
the end of last week, because
Yeah.
there's still too much good Mark stuff to have and Mark Gracie things that can
Although,
happen.
how bad of a shot is she? She was like 3 feet away from him. How did she miss?
Listen, rifles are not meant for close distances. They are meant for long distance shooting, and it could have easily thrown off her aim.
It threw her. I mean, yeah. And the Proletheans, they're used to long distance shots. So
Yeah, exactly.
there you go.
That's
You
who they
throw them
are.
up. That's what they always say. You get too close to a Prolethean, you throw them off.
I guess.
Yeah, well, Bonnie and the Proletheans were back. That sounds like they should be playing at the Troubadour tonight,
Right?
by the way. Bonnie and the Proletheans.
One, 2, 3, 4.
But they did not finish the job on Mark, and Sarah was able to get out of the barn, get to the cornfield, and get Mark out of there in time.
Without getting shot. Good
Yeah,
for her.
Good for her.
So basically, Sarah's running off with Mark, and they kind of both have the same idea in a lot of ways. He wants to get the original genetic material so he can kind of buy him and Gracie their way out of Castor, and she wants to get that material to get Helena out of Castor.
Right. And also we come to realize that because they are siblings, that the Castor DNA would help them understand their own DNA because they're sibs.
Yeah, so it should be a mutual thing, but they're still not very trusting of each other.
Right.
And they hold up in a house, look like an abandoned house or someone's basement. Someone was out to work.
Someone was just out for the evening.
Where we get our one of many gross factors in this episode. We get the little makeshift surgery of she has to take the bullet out of Mark's
Well, no.
leg.
First, she has to stick her finger in
And
there
like
and then
waggle it around.
Yeah, stick it in and what was I can't remember the exact quote, but he said just stick it in. I can't remember, but she said. Yeah, I'll move on.
Something about first dates.
First dates. I remember her line. I couldn't remember his. So she helps him get out the bull, and basically she's going to help him for more information. But he really does seem to not know a lot of what's going on because he's been in deep cover with the Proletheans for so long at
Years.
this point. Yeah. So, I mean, there's only so much he can offer her at this point. But she also knows that he found something at the farm there. Mm-hmm.
I do want to say that even though he might not actually know a ton right now because he has been undercover for so long, we know by the end of this episode that he is actually pretty high ranked amongst the casters, so he could probably get more information than he's letting on.
If he goes back into Castor, which
he doesn't really want
Can
to.
I just say that was the scene of the week was Mark and Rudy interacting and him pulling rank on Rudy and that shift was a really, really well played, and it introduced an interesting dynamic that I couldn't have expected.
And there was so much tension going into that moment because, the last episode was just Rudy basically crapping on Mark. He called him a pussy. He's like, so is he really going to buy into this thing? Is he really going to respect the orders from his superior commander? And at the end of the day, he doesn't. And at the end of the day, I think there's also not just that, but there's still a level of brotherly love coming there because they were all raised together. You're right. The shift was pretty great. Again, Ari Millen doing fantastic work this season on the show. So Sarah finds a motel. He passes out because, as you do after you've been stitched up and they're pouring vodka in your open bullet wound, as you do, you pass out.
Right. He's a trooper, though, for sticking with it.
He was doing a good job there. He was actually a lot more with it than I expected someone to be doing makeshift surgery. And Sarah does find the key to the motel, and that leads her to the box of stuff that Johansson had hidden there that he had
just dismissed as whatever, not what I'm looking for. Probably doesn't have any relevant information in it whatsoever.
Well, I guess it was just that he was so. He was a little too dismissive. He was so sure that we have to find some actual
slides, test tubes, something physical,
something that would contain genetic material that he didn't think to look.
No time to go through all the paperwork. I gotta go torture this guy.
Yeah,
time
exactly.
Is money.
And you know what? And Mark seems to be a mixed bag. He does have that rank, but he couldn't torture the guy right. He's getting shot in the corn. Mark's having some issues. He's been away from Castor maybe a little too long, out in the wilderness. So then Mark does end up showing up at the hotel, and very angry at Sarah. He feels a little betrayed by her because she called an ambulance for him, and he doesn't want to go in because he knows that these Castor clones can basically hunt him down anywhere, wherever he is. But Sarah has figured some stuff out because she did not dismiss all that junk paper that was in the thing.
She called Cosima.
That's who you bring in for these things. You see scientific writings, you take pictures of it, send it to Cosima.
Yes.
Even if she's out drinking that night.
Well, we actually have a question from Alicia Perez regarding Cosima. Do you think Cosima is really over Delphine? Do you think she's ready to move on?
No
way.
Not one bit. She's gonna try. She's gonna go on Sapphire and maybe find some nice Strange, but she's not ready for a real relationship.
She'll find herself only swiping for French girls for a while.
She just barely got over dying from a mysterious disease.
Well, you know what? Since someone brought it up, I kind of wanted to. I was going to get to that later, but let's get to it now. Cosima really, early in the episode, she does kind of really underplay the fact that she was very recently dying. With Kira's stem cells they're doing the trick. They're really working.
They're good stem cells. I'm fine
magic.
now.
I mean, how much do you think the series from here on out is going to kind of brush? I mean, are we just going to kind of brush her illness aside until suddenly it's just she's better?
I don't know if they're going to just go for, if they're just kind of using it as a little bit of tension. She could relapse at any moment when, in fact, she won't. Or she won't until they can somehow bring Kira or more Castor DNA back into the mix. Things like that.
I know this is not a popular thing. Last season, I was upset that, as much as I like Cosima, I was a little upset that they didn't kill her. Just because once you give us the threat of a dead clone and then you reverse it, until you kill off a clone, there is no danger that it feels real.
We're not going to take it seriously.
We won't. Because Sarah's never going to die.
No.
And if none of the other clones can die, then what's the point in being afraid for them?
The only clones they can kill off now seem to be clones they just introduced for an episode
right,
or two.
Or just there in a clip and we never get to meet.
Maybe if they bring back Tony and kill Tony, then there's
don't kill Tony. Tony's fabulous. I love Tony.
But Cosima, you're absolutely right. But you know what the thing is? I was actually thinking about that watching this episode because I was jotting down the idea of are they just going to get over this death? The idea of death. She serves such an important purpose to the show, though, because she is the person who can explain the science. She's the only one they have. I mean, that's not the. Do you think?
Here's the
do you think
thing.
the other clones would rely on Scotty as much as Cosima does? I don't think so, and I don't think he would to them.
Here's the thing. If we do lose Cosima, that is a huge blow to everybody in the show because they do rely on her so much. Could you imagine how badly the rug would be pulled out from under all these characters and us as audience members?
You're right.
We would freak out if they killed Cosima.
I think I read in an interview where the creators were both arguing back and forth about how they each have a favorite clone. I can't remember which one's which, but they always argue about one being killed and the other one argues against it, and they've had this constant push-pull about that, which I get, because you do get very attached to these individual clones because they are now on such their own stories, and Cosima is going to, at the advice of Felix, going to start looking for love again. I guess.
I love how much Felix really does act as a brother to all the clones. He goes to support Allison during her play when she's in rehab. He goes and, wants to take Cosima out for a night of drinking. I think it's just very sweet.
I feel like this is the season they've really hooked up now Felix with Cosima. Each season he's kind of served as the brother for
one of the clones.
Yeah. And now, Allison doesn't need him as much as they did. So now Cosima does, and he's gonna fix her love life, and she'll get back at it. I mean, you have to. Even the only way you do get over
she's
these
a
things,
catch.
She is a catch.
Yes,
that's for sure. So
any gal would be lucky to have her.
Brilliant, beautiful, cool braids.
But you just know once she starts finally getting something going,
Delphine's gonna sweep back into her life like nothing happened. C'est la vie, more French.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So no matter what, I feel like we're in for seasons of heartbreak still with Cosima. Felix, though, so he's with Cosima, but I hope we get Felix into some situations where Felix is in danger again. I feel like it's been a while since Felix has been, like, in imminent danger, where he's been, I don't know, I don't want him just setting people up this season.
I mean, he was framed for a murder recently, not too long ago.
Well, I guess
and people do keep breaking into his apartment. How has he not moved?
That's true. That's true.
He's really attached, and it's rent controlled.
Okay.
It's a good spot.
I can understand that.
It's perfect for a young artist.
Centrally located.
Yeah.
It's cheap. It's not that drafty. It's perfect.
Well, hopefully Cosima can find some love on Sapphire. Mm-hmm. But while she is
Sapphire isn't real, right?
No, it's their version of Tinder.
Tinder, yeah.
Unless it's Canadian, unless that's what they call Tinder in Canada.
I don't know, because Grindr is just for men, so I feel like there should be an all lesbian alternative.
Well,
I'll be honest, I didn't look it up.
You know what?
I just assume
it's not real. I just assumed it was their takeoff on Tinder, but I've never looked up a lesbian dating site for myself personally.
I was going to look it up, but now I really don't want to know what I'll
find.
Fine,
guys. If you aren't comfortable, I'm going to look up Sapphire.
This is a work phone.
Oh, that's a work phone?
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
Well, she does get in touch with Sarah, who basically, I think this was the big reveal of the episode, that Cosima says that they figure out it was a person. The genetic material that they're looking for was an actual person, a child that the Johansons brought to fruition, but then we find out later died basically at childbirth, died very young. So now this is what they've been, and I thought that was actually a really interesting twist, because it's a lot more interesting to be looking for a dead baby than it is for a test tube.
It makes complete and total sense, though. He wouldn't just waste that genetic material. Of course he would use it to try to create a child, because that's what they were trying to do as soon as they got a hold of Helena.
Yeah.
Exactly.
There is no Sapphire dating app on the iTunes store.
There you go. Okay. Well, if there isn't, there should be soon.
Yeah.
Soon enough. So they find out this person, and she basically says, Mark, did the Johansons ever have a son? And they did. They go to the farm, and she's got to dig up this dead baby.
Dead baby?
Yeah.
This show's so messed up. I love
It's getting more and more with each season. Now we're bringing in dead babies. And she digs it up, and there's some great conversation that she has with Mark about Helena in this moment. Like, you're going through an awful lot of trouble to help this woman that you tried to kill. Mm-hmm. And I thought it was a great moment because it kind of reminded us the idea of why Sarah might feel even more guilt than just the fact that Mrs. S kind of sold her out. That, yeah, she tried to kill this woman, and now she's got, she's trying to make amends for all of that, too.
She's her sestra.
Yeah. And it was like I said, it was a great bit of dialogue between them.
Well, and I really like that Sarah keeps trying to drive home the point to Mark that they are siblings,
Yes.
that she considers him her brother, and that, like it or not, they're in it together now, and he's still, I guess being raised in a group of brothers, he's like, no, I have my mission, that sort of thing. He doesn't want to acknowledge them as sisters in the way that she acknowledges him as a brother.
Yeah. And I think it's going to be a long time before any Castor clones get to that point. But I
But
think
if any of them do, it's going to be Mark.
And I think by the end of the season he will, if not even sooner. Like I said, I've been a big proponent that Mark is going to be kind of the unsung hero by the end of the season. And
now
so
that he's
far-
not dead.
Now that
Good
he's
for
not
him.
dead.
Well, he's Castor Sarah.
Yeah.
He's the renegade. He's the rebel. He's the one who's different with a conscience.
Yeah, and he's doing what he's doing for love, just like she is. Whether it was the love of her child or now the love of her sisters, he was doing this for the love of Gracie.
And, for the love of his brothers, he's got some too. We have a tweet here, #ABTV Orphan Black, from Mr. Smith, the chef at Soon Master Chef 1. What do y'all think Gracie will do now that she has had a miscarriage? I was so furious for her. Over Bonnie's actions. I wanted to punch a hole in my screen. I was so angry.
Yeah. It was, she's finally brought back
unfair.
into the Prolethean fold, and then...
This weird blind guy.
Who knew she was going to have a miscarriage, by the way.
Whoa.
Because the way he...
See the future.
What if he gave her a miscarriage? What if he's got powers like Kira, but they're the anti-powers?
the Prolethean powers.
Well, no. What if he's the devil and Kira's an angel or a god or something?
Now
and that's where we're taking this.
Then we're getting out of the realm of science. A few weeks ago, you argued that it will still, even if it's bunk science, it will stay within the realm of science.
You can prove. Shut up.
So did anyone notice that when he touched her, like his face went like down, and then he was like, get her something to eat. Like he knew she was gonna have this somehow. Well, the blind have
another way
extra
to
senses.
another way to read it is just like he's, as much as it is a miracle child, he is disgusted that it is an abomination child.
Yeah, that's true.
I don't know, because the Proletheans have been drinking whatever Kool-Aid they've been drinking for a long time.
Yeah,
they all think of it as a miracle.
And they would have been on the same page as Johansson, I would assume. He knew this was going to happen. Yeah, and then she has this miscarriage, and then she's cast out. Which, now, here's my big question about this. The genetic material's in the hands of Castor. Gracie's cast out of the Proletheans, and Bonnie seems to want nothing to do with her at this point. I was surprised the Proletheans came back into play the way they did already this season. Do you think this is it for the Proletheans?
Absolutely not.
Okay.
No.
They're still... Well, I was so surprised. I guess Bonnie's just a terrible person to begin with.
Yeah.
But I was just really surprised that she was so quick to cast Gracie out, because one, at the when we thought she killed Mark, her pre-kill quip was I love her not like her mother, and then we find out that she was the one who had a miscarriage with the Castor DNA clone baby. And so I was just really surprised that somebody who had gone through that process themselves would be so quick to cast out someone going through
This is a woman with zero empathy for
Yeah, I
anyone.
guess so.
And remember, now, Gracie she kind of holds Gracie responsible for everything that ended up happening with the farm burning down, with her husband, Gracie's father, being dead, so she's got, that's a lot of Prolethean baggage to carry around, so I still buy that she would cast her out. Like you said, she's got no empathy for her own daughter.
It was just weird to me that somebody who had had a miscarriage would be so angry. Or maybe it was something like projecting, because she wasn't able to take care of the child that she had.
Yeah.
Maybe that's what she was projecting. I don't know. I just thought it was a very interesting turn. That's all.
I say blame the midwife that you're keeping around.
Right?
She should have been
She's a
able to do
jinx.
something. Yeah, she's the worst. So by the end of the episode with the Sarah and Mark storyline, Rudy shows up because Mark knew he would track him down eventually. He did. Sarah hits him with the shovel. Great little kind of standoff in the barn where he's hunting her down and he's taunting her, doing this like horrible like Kira voice of like how she's going to be looking for him.
This guy's a sick F.
And right when he finally has
Monster.
her and he's gonna kill her, that's when that great scene that you brought up where Mark comes in and he basically they have this have this showdown, and Rudy bends to Mark's will basically.
Yeah.
And then, though, it ends on an extremely ominous note, though, because they don't leave loose ends. And Sarah is a loose end.
Dun, dun, dun.
So now Sarah's dead.
Obviously.
No, yeah,
No,
obviously.
Sarah's dead,
Yeah.
and that's...
series
And
over.
the show becomes about Allison and the
It's about-
Hendrickses.
yeah.
Yes! And they raise Kira's, their very own.
Exactly. With the other Hendrix kids.
Yeah.
No, I mean, it looks like that they're gonna take Sarah in to cast her, which is gonna set up all sorts of crazy possibilities, because then you will have Mark, Rudy, Helena, and Sarah all on the same, and Paul.
And Paul!
All on the same.
Dirty Paul.
I wonder how Dirty Paul's gonna feel about having Sarah now back at the base with them.
He's gonna be like, oh, for the love of God, I told you to get out of town.
It's okay if you do it in a three-way.
Exactly. You put Sarah in the cell with Helena. Paul comes in.
Dirty Paul.
Dirty Paul. That's what he's thinking.
I mean, that would be a new one
He's
for
thought
him.
about it.
He slept with so many clones, like he's probably looking for a way to mix it up.
So
at this
many
point.
clones. 3. Only 3. Okay. It's
That's
not
still probably
so
too many.
Yeah, but it's still 3. They're all different, okay? They all have different attitudes, different style, different technique.
That
He's
would
learned a
be
lot
like
about the human condition in that
is
way.
literally banging 3 sisters, though. That's really weird.
Okay, yeah, it's not the greatest thing you can do for
Yeah.
a family.
But, as far as clone conquests, I mean, it's
Clone Quest?
clone quests.
Oh, Lord.
Each week. That should be the goal for the rest of our season here. Each
Is
week
to go have sex with clones?
Well, that too. But I was going to say come up with a new sexual hashtag for Paul. Last week it was clone. Was it clone?
Clone
poon? Was that what it
Clone
was?
Puss. It was
Clone
Clone Puss.
puss. Clone puss.
Oh, for God's sake.
Hey, you coined that one.
I didn't want to. It just came out of me. God. We have a question here. Another one from Soonmaster Chef 1 on Twitter. Do you think the Proleuthians will raise more dust with the other clones, both Castor and Lita? I don't know what you mean by raise more dust. I don't know if maybe you mean like fight,
I think cause some trouble.
cause some trouble. Well, yeah.
See, I'm actually on the opposite side of you guys. Maybe I should have said this when I asked the question. I don't think they're going to play a big part for the rest of the season. I think they're going to be... I'm not saying we'll never see the Proleuthians again, but I think this kind of takes them out of play for a while.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, I would say that, except every time I think they're gone for good, they come back swinging.
Yeah.
So I feel like maybe they'll back off for like 2 episodes, and then they'll be back.
Yeah, I feel like you don't introduce creepy blind guy if he doesn't have some importance.
That's true, and he is pretty creepy.
Yeah.
Which, who was the actor that played him? He looked a lot like Bill Nye.
Did he?
To me,
Nah,
anyway.
not to me.
He was a
but-
bigger man than
Anyway.
But yeah.
Yeah.
And I think an old... Maybe not.
He looked older, though.
He did
I
look older.
want to
and
see
blinder.
Felix offer Gracie a makeover.
Well, it looks like from the coming attractions, that's what we might get.
Yes.
So I am excited.
Zoe Graeme Manson is having so much fun shooting this
She's
season.
doing... I'm glad they've increased her role from
Yeah.
last season, because
She's doing a great job.
Yeah.
I think she deserves a little bit of fun. She's
She
she's
does.
had it hard.
Makeover. Yeah.
So, speaking of people who might need a makeover, my favorite stuff in the episode, and usually when there is stuff about her, it is my favorite stuff, was the Helena stuff.
Yeah.
So, she's, taking advice from her scorpion spirit animal, as usual, and she knows she has to do some recon. To get out of the next box, she has to know what's in
The next
The next box.
box. So, she ties off her arm, which I thought was great, and I guess this is a thing that you can do.
Genius. I mean, well, that's what people who shoot heroin, like they tie off their arm before they shoot it, and then they release it, and then it all goes through their body.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
So she did this, and then she threw a fit. She threw more than a fit. She threw her shit at them too, and she ended up getting sedated. But it was taking a while to get through her bloodstream, and she had a chance to sneak out of the little what is it? Not hospital. She gets snuck out, and she found a very interesting experiment being done on a castor clone,
man.
Parsons.
Yeah.
Parsons, man, that poor man.
Help me.
Now, that guy, she can't quite make out what's going on when she first sees him, but they kind of have this moment where they kind of lock eyes, and she's half passing out this whole time and just barely makes it back to her bed before they come and check on her. Mm-hmm. But now she is determined to get out. And, it's funny you say ingenious how she tied over him. What we kind of forget is that Helena's crazy, but she's also really
Crazy
smart.
like a fox.
Yeah. I mean, she was an assassin. Like, you don't get to go around the world being able to kill clones without being smart and resourceful. And maybe the most resourceful thing that she's ever done is she makes a makeshift lockpick
Out of
like
rib,
a pork chop bone or something. That was really unexpected. When she was doing that, I thought for sure she was making a weapon at first.
That's
like
what I
some
thought.
sort of
That was like
shiv.
it up to be a knife.
And
yeah.
then when they came in, she was gonna just but no, she used it to pick the lock, which is even more ingenious because I didn't see that coming at all.
Strategery.
Yeah.
It takes a special kind of crazy to think, that outside the box.
So she, again, timing out the cameras, unlocks the thing, gets out there, and then comes back to Parsons. And then
the Spirit and Scorpion is not happy about this.
No.
This was probably we had a lot of really great scenes in this particular episode, but this was the scene that had me going, "Oh God!" like the entire time.
Oh yeah, when she comes up on him and something's up, but you don't really know, and then she pulls that cloth up, and you see his brains just exposed like that, and they're running these tests on him, probably like. Now, I don't know if he was already suffering from the glitches, or whether they were just doing this because Cody's is a cruel mother who's just experimenting on another clone to try to save the other ones. Mm-hmm. But like you said, he wants to die. And the little Scorpion, tells him, let's get out of here. And in a lot of ways, maybe the Scorpion...
You're going to waste your one chance on this, bozo.
Paraphrase.
Well, if it really is her spirit animal, maybe it's a test.
Ooh. Well, you know what? But I think this is a great thing because it shows it was a great scene showing the humanity of Helena. Like, yeah, maybe that spirit animal is the thing that all these years has dictated a lot of the crazy that she does, or when she's like trying to kill clones and things like that. But now the humanity of Helena comes out, and she can't let this guy suffer because she knows he's just going to be there forever suffering.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and what's interesting is that she does this not knowing that they're siblings.
Yeah.
She does this just kind of out of the goodness of her heart.
And there's almost a sweet moment. She calls him like little one, and she talks about how they've both been abandoned by their family. Now, some people online I saw took that as that she's buying into the fact that Sarah betrayed her, that she's buying into Cody's line that she was betrayed when she says we were both abandoned by family. I didn't necessarily read it that way, but what did you guys think?
I mean, on the one hand, I could see that wearing on her. On the other hand, I still don't see it that way. I think that she, in terms of like we both been abandoned by our family, I think she's talking more about her past.
That's what
than
I
she
think.
is about her present.
I think that it definitely occurs to her. We'll find out for sure next week whether or not she blames Sarah for what's going on. I think that she's pretty sure, 90% sure that Sarah would never do this. But at the same time, you got to have that nagging thought in the back of your head because what other explanation is there?
Yeah, exactly. All of a sudden you're leaving Felix's apartment and you get kidnapped right then and there. Mm-hmm. So it makes it seem like someone who knew where you were going to be. And it was, but it was Mrs. S. So Helena, she gives up escaping. She kills him in a Although I wonder if there was a better way to have done it, because she stabs him in the brain, and he's clearly still like feeling it,
And then
she, which I actually was kind in another, if it in a non-compassionate situation would have been kind of a even more badass move, had she just a little twist there. But this alerts them. He flatlines. This alerts the doc. Cody shows up, and Helena's there, screaming at her, calls her a shitting mother. She's freaking out. And, of course, they sedate her and bring her back to her cell. Cody, Cody doesn't really have any love of these guys, right? I mean, because last week I think I was on the fence of like, maybe she does. She is trying to find a cure.
I think that's still up for debate. Definitely what she did was horrible, but I think at the very least she feels some sort of ownership of them in the same way that Dr. Leakey kind of felt some sort of responsibility / ownership of all of the Lita clones. But what she did was just so cruel. It might just be a numbers thing. It might be a sacrifice. Like you said, sacrifice one for the greater good of all your brothers. It could be that he was dying anyway.
It's
that
true.
He was glitching out.
He might have been glitching. And I'm wondering if she tries to spin this to Helena somehow. I wonder how important it is to them to get Helena still to be a willing participant in whatever they are going to do. Because I don't think that's ever going to happen. But
yeah, I think that what they're going to do is they're going to use Helena as the bait to get Sarah to be a willing participant. It's like, if you don't participate, we're going to hurt Helena.
But now that they have the baby skeleton, how much do they even need these women?
The baby skeleton is vital, but you don't want to just toss two perfectly good genetic specimens out the window, especially because one of them is pregnant and the other one has had a baby.
And here's the thing. Once you're kidnapped by like kind of a secret military project, they can never let you go anyway.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no way you get out of this.
Well, and who's even going to find you?
Yeah, I'm actually hoping, number one thing I'm hoping next week, we find out where headquarters is.
Iraq.
I mean, we still seem pretty certain it's somewhere overseas.
I'd laugh if it was like 10 miles outside of my hometown.
Yeah,
I live in the desert.
It's on a sound stage outside of Los Angeles.
Speaking of the little dead baby child, Alicia Perez, Billie Jean Girl 18 on Twitter, she asked, how do you know that Gracie isn't the child with the original DNA?
That's what I originally thought they were
Which
going
is
with.
even more fucked up and creepy, because that means he's sleeping with himself.
I know. That was immediately where my mind went to.
Sorry about the F-bomb.
It's okay.
Honestly, if anything's been worthy of one, it's that idea. And that was my immediate thought, and I even wrote it down. And then I crossed it out when Cosima mentioned male clone. She mentioned male more than once, which made me think that something Cosima was seeing in there. And I wasn't sure if it was something I missed, but it made me think something that Cosima saw there knew it had to be a male.
I would just assume that Gracie wasn't, that she is just the biological, child of him and his wife. That's like, because I feel like if she hadn't been, she would never have been cast out in the first place, because she would be valuable genetic. She would be the she's the miracle that they're looking for. And I feel like if she was all that, they wouldn't treat her in the way that they have.
Well, Gracie's a miracle in her own right.
She is, and she should be treated as such.
And by the way, you see that there is still, like, she takes the ring, she hides it in her pocket. She doesn't want her mother to see that wedding ring, Mark is, there's that great shot where it cuts from Gracie, then Mark's got the ring, and he's still thinks so. I mean, like, we all agree that Mark's love of Gracie is a real thing.
Of course.
Yes.
So if he's going into Castor, it's not to stay in Castor.
No.
Which is, again, he's going to be the only way I think Sarah and Helena get out of here.
We actually do have another tweet from Alicia Perez. Do you think Mark has turned on Sarah, or do you think he has a plan to help her save Helena?
I don't know whether he has a plan to help her save Helena yet, but he's definitely, I think, when push comes to shove, going to use her against Castor to get out of there himself. That's what I think.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I mean, it could be he feels bad.
Are we
I was about to say it.
Yeah.
We got to get to the show within the show.
Yeah!
The Hendrixes.
Can we have somebody make up a little sitcom?
We should try to come up with some sort of little theme to introduce the Hendrixes each week. And Donnie is all sorts of... When we come in on the Hendrixes, Donnie's all sorts of paranoid because... While he's been out like campaigning or whatever with the
dropping off drugs,
campaigning, someone was following him, and he doesn't think it's her Marcy or whatever.
No,
he thinks it might be police.
But instead, it's a bald guy who loves fast food.
Yeah.
And is generally doesn't care where he drops the wrappers.
Yeah. Well, no, he was
looking for a trash can, and he gave it to Allison.
Gave it to Allison.
I loved it.
And I thought that was how he just dismissed her, just with the finger waves. Like, did you shush me? So it turns out Ramon did not go to college. Ramon was selling these drugs belonged to his supplier, and he shouldn't have sold them to the Hendrixes, but he did to get out for $30,000. And now they want to have a meeting. They want to have a sit down with Allison. And this was just, again, great stuff with Tatiana and Kristen Brune this season. There was a great moment in the car where Donnie's brought the gun. And she's freaking out. Last time you had a gun in the car, you know what happened.
He's gonna accidentally shoot someone again.
It's like, it's cool, baby. It's cool. I got it.
Yeah.
Got a
Gonna
gun.
protect this family.
Yeah.
It's so cute the way
Donnie.
he puffs out his chest.
Yeah.
And then I thought it was equally good that he's got the gun there. She's getting frisked. There's this moment of, oh, they're going to frisk. They don't even bother. Yeah. That's how dismissive this world is of Donnie.
Yeah. And we meet the drug dealer in charge, HDD in IC.
Turns out to be Allison's ex-boyfriend.
Former flame.
Now, she gets in the car, and immediately there's some reminiscing. There's a lot of flirtation. Again, the whole thing that Donnie is a character who sometimes, especially now since he's a little less monetary, has been somewhat dismissed. And I wonder, are we setting up a little love triangle?
Oh, but she slept with someone else last season or the first season.
With Ainsley's husband.
Exactly, when she thought that he was a monitor. And it's just sort of like, we don't need to do that again.
I don't know if she'll do that, but he's clearly gonna be putting the moves on her.
Yeah.
And he's got something over her now. He's got all the drugs that she needs, both for the family, by the way, for the family to make money because they have no other income, and to win this election, which is the most important thing of all, obviously. So yeah, I mean, where does that go?
Where does
this go? Where do you
well,
see this go?
here's the thing. So, Justin?
That's
Jordan?
the actor's name.
That's the actor's name.
That's the actor's name.
I thought it was Justin, but maybe in retrospect, I thought because of the actor's
Justin
name.
Chatwin.
Yeah.
Yeah. But basically, he wants her. He's going to keep putting the pressure on her. And, we could have this rote storyline where, she's resisting his advances because she doesn't want to do that to Donnie, or she has an affair with him and then goes back to Donnie. I think there's a more interesting option, which is she's now taken to a life of crime like a fish takes to water. She's loving her new moral-less life. And I'm wondering if maybe she's drawn in by the allure of this dude. She leaves her family and she goes running and gunning with old Flame Boy.
They become like Bonnie and Clyde.
Yeah, Goku and Allison.
No!
So you know what? We there've been a lot of jokes. A lot of Breaking Bad jokes had been made, and then this week they finally referenced Breaking Bad.
Oh, that made me so happy.
Breaking Bad.
Yeah. And I
Because
wonder,
of course that's how Donnie would view crime. Yeah, like Breaking Bad.
And I wonder, though, I mean, there is something to the idea of what happened to Walter White, where he just loved doing it. That Allison,
crossover episode.
That would be, well, you made a great comment right before we came on air.
I was really hoping that when they revealed who it was inside the van, I was like, "Come on, Aaron Paul! Come on, Aaron Paul!"
Yeah, I mean, that would have been the ultimate. That's what Jesse Pinkman did after he drove all the way to Canada and started up a business again. That would have been amazing.
That would have been hilarious.
That would have been the greatest crossover in television history. So, Allison, there's still a little bit. There was a scene where Cosima was on her in the phone, which kind of connects her back to the other clones. I still gotta believe somehow all this drug dealing is gonna screw something up for the other clones down the line. And I don't know if we're gonna get the scene that you had pitched that I loved, where Sarah was in the debate. Now that Sarah's held at a military base.
Yeah, well,
And
you can still dream.
And Cosima can't really pass for Allison unless she has a serious haircut.
Yeah, and she's not a con man.
Yeah.
So I don't know. At the very least, her illegal activities, if she gets caught, are really going to ruin things for everybody, because why does she have the same face as Beth?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I still wonder if the Angelus is still out there trying to figure out a way to make all this.
I feel like she's been thoroughly neutered.
Yeah.
Which is kind of disappointing. You would like to see stuff like that go somewhere or come back.
Of course, the only thing better than Sarah impersonating her in that debate would be
Angela DeAngelis impersonating her, yes.
I was going to say a brain-damaged Rachel impersonating her.
Stop! That's amazing. That's an amazing idea.
So,
I love that
we can only
idea.
do-
Will, you're a genius.
Why do you have an eye patch?
School lunches.
So, before we move on to some quick news and predictions, you guys have any other thoughts on the episode? You
No.
want to, anything we missed, maybe?
Not me. Thoroughly enjoyed it, and that's pretty much all I got.
Yeah, no, it was a fantastic episode.
I think it's the best one of the season so far, in all honesty. And a lot of that, again, for me, was so much Helena stuff is always going to be good. So I wanted to bring up some news and some
AfterBuzz TV News.
and some really good news. Orphan Black has already been renewed for season 4.
Fantastic.
And I know last year they made us really wait. Like, we were waiting through I think a good month or so after the season ended before they announced it, even though we all kind of knew it was coming. So I'm glad they didn't make us wait this year. They just came out and told us. And I think we might have mentioned it last week. There was an interview recently where they were saying, well, maybe we'd like to go 5 seasons. And I feel for them to say that. They say that because they know they can go 5 seasons. There's no reason not
Yeah.
to.
It seems like they're planning on capping it at 5, and they're like, but who knows? Maybe if there's demand for it and we feel there are more stories to tell, we can do kind of a spin-off.
I feel like this story is unsustainable for another season more. Just let's get it done. 5 seasons, plenty of time.
Yeah.
That's what
no.
And like I said, it's funny how television changed because television's so much more. It's not as necessarily episodic as it's more serialized now. I don't care how long a show goes, as long as you give me a conclusion, as long as you're able to build to a conclusion. Like it used to be, I never want my favorite show to go off the end, but now it's like, oh, good, end.
Go.
Just end, but
Yeah.
wrap it up. I'm excited.
And strong.
Yes.
Yeah, I would much rather have a show end a little bit too early with a good conclusion than go on way too long and just get convoluted and
Agreed.
ridiculous. Lost.
So we had Lost.
Yes.
We're not opening this discussion. We're not doing
Pandora's
this.
box.
I love Lost. I love every second of Lost. But we're not talking about Lost. You're right. But I know we've said a lot of predictions already. But let's see if we have any more predictions. I guess.
And now, your AfterBuzz TV predictions.
I'll say it right here. I'm just gonna go with Rachel, brain damage Rachel impersonates.
Yes!
impersonates Allison.
I want it. I want that scene. Write it, shoot it, give it to me.
Well, do you have any predictions, Megan?
I would. Maybe it's not a prediction, but like my dream is that Helena and Sarah, the dynamic duo, make this really cool prison escape with the help of Mark and
Scorpion.
Well, now that Sarah's there, do you think there's gonna be? I mean, this is now gonna be her chance to kind of clear the air about. I didn't really do this to
is
you.
assuming that they're put in the same cell or within speaking distance
From
of
the
each other.
scenes from next week, it looks like they're next door to each other.
And here's the thing: you can't have them there for too many episodes without them having a run-in together. One at most.
What I worry about is they decided not to torture Helena because she was pregnant. as far as we know, Sarah is not pregnant.
Some Sarah waterboarding is in our
Stress
future?
testing, yeah.
Oh, man.
I worry about that.
I didn't even think about that. But then again, Sarah is the one that you can deal with on a little bit more of a rational level than Helena. I wonder if part of what they were doing to Helena was just like, well, she's already this uncontrollable animal to begin with.
We got to break her down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How about you, man?
I mean, I think I pitched my biggest one, which is Allison leaves Donnie for a fun life of drug running and guns. Yeah, I'm just gonna go with that. And Gracie gets a makeover.
Gracie, I'm very curious to see how Gracie now fits into almost the end game of this whole season. We're 4 episodes in. Gracie's not with the Proletheans. How's she going to come into play?
She's still a little young, but I want her to go and have fun. And how funny would it be if, like, she ended up with Cosima?
I want her to sit on the Iron Throne.
Yeah, that's the ultimate prediction.
Yeah.
That Gracie at the end.
Gracie will sit the Iron Throne.
She lords over Westeros.
Gracie of the House Johansson.
Yeah. That
Mother
would be.
of clones.
Clearly, all we want to do is make a Breaking Bad, Orphan Black, Game of Thrones hybrid.
So
shared universe.
Basically, AfterBuzz is our format for fan fiction.
Exactly. Yes.
This is great. We should honestly. This is what I'm going to start doing. I'm going to start writing all this crossover events. Okay. Well, Megan, plug. Say do the thing.
Do the thing.
Do the thing, Julie.
Yes. I'm Megan. You can tweet at me at the Menguin. That's TheMenguin. I'm also on a bunch of shows here at AfterBuzz, including Turn later on tonight, Sailor Moon,
Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. finale.
Yeah. Agents
looking
of
forward to
S.H.I.E.L.D.
that finale.
tomorrow, which tune in because we're going to be cosplaying. I've also started writing articles for the movie Chick, the Chick with 2 Ks. Be sure to check those out.
Okay, and you can find me on Twitter at Matt Lieberman. That's MattLieberman. I'm gonna be on that Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. finale tomorrow night, guest starring in my former panel.
Surprise!
Mad Men finale on Monday.
You'll also be cosplaying for the Mad Men finale.
Of course I will. SourceFed and SourceFed Nerd, LieberFriends.com.
And you can follow me on Twitter at The Real Will Link and listen to my podcast, Will Sean Podcast. You can find it on iTunes. I tweet about it. We talk about pop culture. It's great. Listen to it. Thank you so much for tuning in. We will see you next week.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Hello.
See you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.